Hello, and welcome to Hitchhiker's Guide to Humanity. Today, we're talking about twin flames. Blah. No, I don't want to talk about them. So now that I'm done with my beginning rant, I think there's a lot of misconceptions around twin flame because of that documentary where those nut jobs tried to make people be twin flames. Or it's real, but it isn't. So here's the thing that I've learned about the universe. It isn't binary. So there isn't like one soul that breaks into two souls, and those two souls are the twin flame. I don't believe that for a second. I do believe that parts of the soul that you are part of are in other people. And there are certain people in your life that you have soul contracts with that I guess you could call twin flame. Yours truly has one. And the reason I know this is because of, well, two reasons. One, in order for it to be a quote unquote twin flame, you need to have a spiritual awakening, like a deep, life-changing spiritual awakening. If you don't have that, it's not a twin flame. That's like one of the requirements. Of course, keep in mind, there are no rules. So everything I say, use your discernment, whether you believe it or not. Ask your body will always tell you. The reason I knew that this person was my quote unquote twin flame is because of the parallel lives that we have led. And I'm not going to tell our dirty little secrets on here because they're a real person. And even though I don't think they're probably listening to this, should they ever listen to this, I don't want them to be like, you aired our dirty laundry, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to keep it pretty high level. When I go somewhere, he's like 2 months behind me. When something happens in my life that is like a growth moment, he shows up kind of like clockwork. And the same goes for him. And it's been like this for about 4 years now. And when we first met, like we met online, there was something different about him. There was just an instant connection that was eerie to me. And there was an attraction I couldn't explain. I mean, you can say that about a lot of people that are twin flames. But the thing is, even in our darkest times, we were never like mean to each other to a point where you can't forgive them, if you know what I mean. It was always like we were living parallel lives, even in the relationship. Like I was talking mostly to the mirror of myself, as was he. And so I don't believe that your quote unquote twin flame is going to be in the body of someone who physically abuses you, mentally abuses you, like abuses you in a way where you can't forgive them. Did we do shitty stuff to each other? Yeah. But it wasn't anything that is unforgivable because we had a foundation of a really good friendship that we built because it was long distance at first. Actually, it was long distance the whole time. It's different. We prioritized our growth over our romantic relationship. And when you're with that person who you have a soul contract with, that will be the mitigating factor that will make it different than any other relationship. It's portrayed as this intense attraction. You can't live without them, blah, blah, blah. I don't buy that. It's about the growth, the spiritual growth. And I mean spiritual in like it's growth. It's about being a better person, being a better human by accessing your spirituality, by mirroring what that other person's wounds are. And so we spend the relationship literally mirroring each other's wounds over and over again and hiding that we were doing that. So there was massive miscommunication the whole time and it never would have worked. Never would have worked. I think that's also a hallmark of a twin flame relationship. They don't work on the surface. They really don't because they are there to be a jumping off point for your spiritual growth. For example, before I met him, I was dabbling in tarot. I had started to realize that those cards were telling me the truth and that there's something to this. Plus, I felt in my body something was changing. And not like in a puberty way. Okay, well, maybe in a puberty way in some way. But anyways, a soul change. I had no idea about spirituality, like zero zilch. I knew nothing. And as I was in this, I'll go through the timeline. So we meet about 6 months in. Our wounds have gotten too much for me, and I say we should be friends. He gets offended naturally, and we part ways. I think it's over, right? He texts me about 2.5 months later, the same day, the only day that I was with anyone else during the entire 4 years. He texts me that very night and we talk. And anyways, we'll leave that out, but we don't get together, right? And me and the other person don't either. So, because I'm still in my wounded phase, right? A year later, he comes back. This is my twin flame. He comes back and we try a relationship. And as we're in this relationship, I start to meditate and become very, very spiritual. And let me say that again, very, very spiritual. And I start to see things, experience things, figure out things. All of a sudden, everything is heightened. And I'm sharing all this with him without knowing that I think he thinks I'm trying to change him or, that I don't think he's enough or something. But it's really just to share because he was the person in my life that I knew the best. And so I forgot to mention too that I moved from our home state, 2 months-ish after he moved back to, and he texted me and he was like, "Hey, I'm back." And I'm like, I'm somewhere else. And there you go. We could never be in the same place. And throughout that relationship, it seemed like the universe was against us. Anytime we would meet up, something would happen. We really only got to meet up a few times. There was always something in the way. If it wasn't physical, external situations, it was internal. You could just feel there's something unsaid. There was like an anxious nervousness because I don't know. But so then fast forward and we aren't together anymore. And I move back to our hometown after quitting my job to become a spiritual practitioner, as I am now, an angelic healer. I text him and he has also quit his job and moved back home. So we are actually not too far from each other right now. This all happened parallel, maybe a couple months difference. And that has been the story. And since he's come here, I have become way more spiritual, way more, like to a degree I can't even explain in the 3D world. And that is the difference between just a typical relationship and one that prioritizes growth. Now, I have no idea what he's doing. I know that he's doing other things, but hopefully he's also having a spiritual awakening of some sort because that's part of the deal, right? The growth. Yeah. So I just wanted to give a real life example. Know that this is hard for me to open myself up like this. Ooh. I've always been someone who likes to keep things inside, a typical Capricorn moon. But here we are, me telling stuff about myself out in the airwaves. Something I never thought I would do. Life is weird. Now, I'm not saying that they never get together. I'm sure that happens, but it is rare, as far as I know, for that to actually work out. Usually you find somebody else after you've had your growth period, and there you go. They will also pop back in at the worst time ever, like right when you get your shit together. That's another hallmark. They will almost entice you like a siren into your old patterns. And that's the universe going, have you learned yet? We're going to do this again. And you're sitting there going, oh God, hell no, I am not doing this again. And yet you do it again and again and again until you learn. They're going to keep popping back into your life to mirror those wounds that you have not looked at, that you haven't transmuted the energy for, that you haven't integrated into your life. Because especially with shame, that's a big one. Shame will make you do a lot of stuff. And once you tackle it and tell it, fuck you, shame, you don't get to have me anymore, you don't have to go through those patterns anymore. They're gone. That anxiety, that need, it's gone. And you wake up one morning and you go, oh my God, I'm free. I'm finally free. The universe says you did it. Congratulations. Here are all these wonderful things in your life. And then you get to tackle whether you deserve all the wonderful things coming into your life. So, like, as a round 2, you tackle this particular thing with your twin flame. You made it through. You're good. You've healed. And then the universe is like, here's all this wonderful stuff that you've earned. And you're like, do I actually deserve this? And then you get to tackle it all over again. Because you're worried about succeeding, about getting what you've always wanted, which is so backwards, which is why humanity is so interesting to me, because we try to get all these great things in life. And then when they come to us, we're like, I don't deserve that. No, what if people see it? What if people hear me on my podcast? You know, that kind of thing. And it's what you've always wanted. It's what you were here to do. I'm here to lead for some reason, divine, God, spirit, source, the universe, consciousness said, hey, your turn. You get the ticket, the golden ticket to come here and lead a group of people, whoever they are, through death and rebirth, through transformation. That is my role. Whether I'm doing that or not remains to be seen, but we got a little off topic of twin flames. So I think we need to retire the name twin flame, if anything, just to appease me, because I hate that term. I fucking hate it. Karmic relationship, soul contract, buddy, whatever you want to call it, okay? But not twin flame. We're retiring that. I'm retiring it right now. We're done. Until next time, peace and love to you all.